So I think I've managed to include in this story all of the requests, which
Oh, wow.
was a very long list of bits and pieces. But the main story is called Turn Up the Contrast. So I liked that, bring up the contrast as a topic,
Yeah.
and so I sort of thought about what having contrast or not does. So I've got a very quick little poem that I've just written this morning that's kind of about that in the context of this. It's called Shadows. Bright lights, flat plains, all is lit and all is same. The contrast washed away in drenching sun, like waves smooth the unsuspecting sand, until the shadows outline all in greys, and every shape defines itself and remains.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Do these poems go up?
Yeah, I
in
usually use them as the poem for that day afterwards. So that poem I'll type up afterwards, and that will be the poem that's my today's poem.
Good. Okay, lovely.
Okay, so turn up the contrast. Without contrast, it's hard to see things clearly. All the options seem to be the same. There wasn't often a lot of contrast in Coober Pedy, unless it was the black silhouette of machinery against the sun. Archie's dugout, for some inexplicable reason, had a window in one of the landing walls, where his office was, but outside was only more sandstone. All the same, he sometimes found himself gazing out of it, as though there was something to be learnt there, in the solid beige behind the safety glass. His office was here because they needed less cable to put the internet down the ventilation shaft that way. On the ground up above, a still new satellite dish was picking up signals from across the country, making Archie's home office possible. Downstairs, one of his housemates, Rob, had clearly taken advantage of the Wi-Fi to download a racing game. Archie wondered if he'd be able to tell the difference if he sat outside near one of the blowers to work. He heaved a sigh and turned back to his tablet on the desk in front of him. Why was it always his company's events where things went wrong? It would be so much simpler to do publicity if other people left it to him and customers weren't feeling unconvinced from previous disasters born of delightful surprise additions by non-publicity members of the team. No extras had been needed at the biggest morning tea. Raffle tickets had sold, cakes were supplied. Then someone decided to let off helium balloons with vouchers attached, and all the guests had lunged for the cutlery in attempt to burst them before the vouchers got away. Health and safety nightmare. Archie chewed on the inside of his cheek absent-mindedly, tousled head in his hand, as he considered how on earth to get people to the Twilight Outrun cancer event. Cool shirts would be a good start. He scrolled through the options on Redbubble. Persian red. That sounded good. That and good old black ones would make for striking helicopter footage in the setting sun. Team shirts available for printing in black and Persian red, he typed into the Facebook event and clicked through to set up paid advertising. He opened a message to Elle, who was in the Adelaide office. Can you put the following into the MailChimp for tomorrow? He copied in the shirt info and hit send. The letters on the tablet screen wiggled and edited themselves. No! Not period red. So sorry, autocorrect. It's called Persian red. Please amend to Persian red shirts. He reached for his water bottle and took a long sip. Then he looked back at the screen. Shirts had rearranged itself to something with one fewer letters that did not belong to the text. Ah! Went Archie, and knocked over his water before he'd sealed the lid. Archie finished packing rice around the tablet and sat down with a sigh. Elle thought it was all very funny, at least. He looked up at the wall above his desk. A nail had been driven into the sandstone there, and on it hung an empty frame, such as most people would fill with an artwork or photograph. Archie used it to dangle other things from. There were some old swimming carnival ribbons from when he was still at the area school, and a thick blue lanyard of the sort designed to hold ID. That was where the photo should have come from, but he couldn't have gone in the end. He imagined the frame showing a stretch of dry earth and saltbush outside the front door, this town of sheds and entrances to where people hid away. It didn't look much different to his sandstone window. He went to the kitchen and stirred together a cup of instant coffee, taking his phone with him, even though the reception wasn't very good through the thick stone. He was meant to see Angus and Annabelle from high school on Saturday. It seemed like something threatening looming ominously on the horizon. He opened a message to Annabelle. Talking about lots of work, might struggle to keep our catch-up dinner. The word talking tried to rearrange itself to taking, so Archie clicked on it, prepared this time. The screen blinked and the message sent itself. What? I didn't click send, you crappy thing. He shook it a bit. Then he looked down at the message. Taking had changed, but not to the desired talking. The message now said, faking about lots of work might struggle this. No. Annabelle was already typing something back. Archie scrambled to type autocorrect, but Annabelle's reply appeared before he could finish. It said, I know. We'll be over at 6, okay? Ah! Squawked Archie. No. Autocorrect fail. I'm fine. I just really have tons of work. The message he sent said tongues of work, but it made no difference anyway. Annabelle was having none of it. She said they'd bring food. It's fine, I can cook. He looked about the kitchen. Oh no, he'd have to go shopping. Rob slouched in, still holding the game controller, and stuck his already very full of black stains mug by the kettle. You right? He yawned. Keep yelling. Archie turned to the fridge and started making a list on his phone's notes app. Fine. Next time you eat all the eggs, can you at least tell me? Okay, answered Rob, picking up his coffee and sidling out. It was 11, and the main street was already full of airborne dust. The small stretch of tarmac to be avoided as the day approached 40 degrees and promised to keep climbing. Archie went down the edge of the road, only just keeping his feet on the dirt. Go off the road too far and there would be old mine shafts. He wondered if that's what it was like with the landmines too. He could imagine Aunt Olga and Mum walking up this road with their cameras and notebooks, arguing about how to spin a story, fearless. When he walked anywhere, Archie watched his feet. It wasn't that he couldn't understand when Mum said that the best tribute was to keep finding important stories, but Archie wasn't sure why it had to be the dangerous ones. There were important stories everywhere, weren't there? He wished he'd stay more local. The supermarket squatted on its own little tarmac square of car parks, only one car visible, as everyone retreated indoors to their workplaces, homes, or down the mines. The black of the tarmac greyed out with mirages and blended into the sand. Archie quickly gathered the groceries, paid and got out of the cashier's way. They'd want to stay in the back by the air conditioner while there were so few customers.
Yeah.
He tucked the shopping away and took a cool glass of water back into the office, where he lit a candle on the sandstone sill of the false window. On Saturday, Archie didn't wake up until it was already too hot outside to go walking. Oh well. He'd do some exercise in the living room, same as yesterday. Same as every day this week. Rob and Marissa wouldn't be by the TV because they'd found a big seam of opal yesterday, so it would be non-stop work for them until the fines ran out. Archie did push-ups on the rug by the mismatched armchairs, borrowed Rob's weights, and then ran through an aerobic routine he remembered from swimming. Marissa had left the TV guide on the floor again. Archie picked it up and tossed it on a chair. Across the front was emblazoned, "Live from the Wide Open Space Festival." Archie turned the paper upside down. He ambled down the tunnel-like hallway, pulled off his sweaty clothes and took the opportunity to use the washing machine while the others were out. He checked the time on his phone. 1:30. Plenty of time for a bit of weekend work. He texted Annabelle. "Just doing my laundry and some extra work. Text me when you're leaving so I can wake up." He turned to the tablet, still sitting in rice, gingerly switched it on, and advised Elle about what to say to the woman from the Biggest Morning Tea, who had managed to get a plastic spoon up the nose and was stirring up trouble. His phone dinged. It was Annabelle, who said, "I didn't know you had a Lauren." Cheeky emoji. "Looking forward to meeting her." Archie frowned and perplexed at the reply for a few minutes, before he realised that his phone had auto-corrected laundry. Annabelle and Angus turned up at 5:30, having forgotten to text. With so much food, they needed help bringing it in, and a pair of fluorescent green designer Nike running shoes balanced on top of the cake box. Archie tried to find out what these were all about as he juggled pots and shoved other things off the kitchen surfaces, but his friends talked over him about what was in the cake and how delicious the salad was. "I really was going to cook, you know," he protested. "It's lucky I didn't. And you were supposed to text." He looked down at himself, still in the track pants and t-shirt he'd thrown on after washing. "I think you should give up texting," replied Annabelle snidely. "It's hazardous. What if it was your boss you were talking to? I heard someone accidentally signed off with kind farts to theirs." When Angus and Annabelle left, Archie discovered that the mysterious bright green Nike shoes were still in his kitchen. He looked at them suspiciously for a while, certain his friends must be up to something. But he could think of no reason why Annabelle might decide that exactly what he needed was a pair of neon sneakers. He picked up his phone. "You left your shops here. Shows. Damn it, shoes." There was an unusual pause before Annabelle replied. "I told you to give up texting." "Thanks for reminding me, those are important. Can you see if they fit you? They were meant to fit me, but they're huge." Even more suspicious now, Archie sat down on the kitchen floor and put on the shoes, which fit very well. He sent Annabelle a photo and a question mark to avoid typos. "Thank goodness, I need a big favour. Can you come to this presentation event at the golf club tomorrow night and model them for me?" Archie frowned at the screen. "Just tear them? Damn it, just wear them? No hidden extra jobs?" Smiley emoji. "Yep, just wear them and walk up and down while their rep talks about them." Okay. She had to be up to something. "Why can't Angus do it?" "He has to fly to Adelaide tomorrow." There didn't seem to be any good excuse to say no. Archie didn't want to go to the golf course, but he supposed he ought to. So on Sunday night, Archie put on the shoes and locked the door to the dugout for the first time he could remember since moving in. Someone had always been home, often him. He walked out into the darkened street. The machines and signs stood out, like black ink marks against the flat horizon, as though the town had become a line of elaborate calligraphy. Some of the shops had lit signs, seeming larger than life. He looked down at his feet, conscious that he could not see where he was stepping, and found that the shoes were glowing, contrasting the road like poisonous toads. It reminded him of the rappers' outfits that night he'd been supposed to host. He could see the golf club even from here, because the gate had been dressed in fairy lights and looked like one of those Disney princess towers. Slowly, he followed the road towards it. Annabelle was inside the gate, wearing a badge and directing people towards refreshments, toilets, and displays of sportswear. When Archie came in, she smiled and came to get him. "Come with me, and I'll introduce you to the relevant shoe people." She began to lead him over to the big clubroom doors. Archie could see that they'd set up the veranda as an impromptu stage. As they were walking, a young woman who Archie knew from school, but whose name he couldn't remember, came running towards them. "Annabelle, there's a crisis. Taya has gastro. I've just told her to leave for health and safety." Annabelle put her hands to her face. "Oh, crap. No, I don't want to have to speak. Did she even have notes?" The other girl, who Archie now thought was Jamie, nodded. "I took her laptop off her. She has a PowerPoint in there with different visitors' names and the notes at the side." "Anything about what she was going to say to open the evening?" "I trial clothing and liaise with companies. I don't know the history of sports in Cuba PD." "I do," said Archie, without thinking.
Oops.
"Mum had a whole bit about the golf and football in the documentary she did about the town." Annabelle looked at him. He looked at Annabelle. "Can I see the PowerPoint?" There was something rising in the pit of his stomach, like an unstoppable wave. He felt different from every other night, and he realised that this hadn't happened in a long time. Archie thought Taya's PowerPoint was a bit bland, but it had all the basic details needed to introduce the important town and company representatives. The opening he did on his own. He knew how many years the golf club had stood there, and a funny sporting incident or two that had occurred on site. He knew how sport and tourism kept the town running when few opals were found, and who had helped start it all. The crowd laughed and applauded on cue, and many locals signed a list to start a netball club. An acceptable number of people, mostly tourists, took an interest in the sportswear.
Okay.
Archie descended from the stage when everyone was contentedly milling around with drinks and the DJ had taken over the soundscape. Angus and Annabelle were waiting for him. "Archie," said Angus carefully, "you do realise that's where you belong, right? It's just as important here as at big festivals, and I miss my chance at those," Archie said stubbornly. Annabelle folded her arms and got in his way. "Yes, all events matter, and all news matters," she said. "But there's a big contrast between this and your festival. Only some people have the flair and the guts to handle the big ones, and you have that. Do you think your aunt would have regretted trying to pursue the news where she needed to, where other people wouldn't?" Archie blinked at her frankness and stopped, taken aback. "No." "Well, then surely not one person in your family thinks you belong behind a screen when you could be inspiring crowds to support the region, bringing it alive with culture and music and forging connections?" Annabelle seemed to be quite cross. Archie spread his hands. "I had to leave the event, Annabelle. Someone replaced me and they'll keep the job now." Annabelle rolled her eyes. "Archie, do you think we're never having Taya back because she had gastro tonight?" She pursed her lips. "Fill in a new damn application form." Annabelle always maintained that Taya really had gastro. But then, she also said that if Archie typed things on a computer, autocorrect wouldn't ruin them, and he still managed to sign his cover letter, Kind Bernard. In the end, it didn't matter all that much, what was on purpose and what wasn't, or what you could and couldn't see out of your window, as long as you could see with clarity the contrast between that which framed your life and that which penned it in.
Oh, that's lovely. What a great story. I love that one. Well done.
So this turned out to be quite a big research one, some of which
Yeah.
was heaps of fun because I had to look up autocorrect fails, and I really recommend going and looking at like the list of autocorrect fails on Google, because there's some sites and they have actual images of phones. Most of the things that were in the story were real mistakes, and there were much worse, real like innuendo type ones sent to bosses and
awful.
but they're hilarious. They're really worth a
All right.
And then of course Kubapedi, and because that sort of came to me immediately when I saw your thing, windows you can't see out of and tunnels, and I went, oh, underground, and there's a window that who knows why it's there. Maybe they built that bit of wall thinking it was not going underground, and then inserted it as a facade or whatever into this office. And so then I thought Kubapedi, and then of course I got like 3/4 the way through working out stuff about Kubapedi and how this would, how could this character be from Kubapedi, and could he have still studied something like media and and what would the local sort of cultural or music festival that's somewhere in the out there, he'd have to have gone away to, where would that be and stuff. And then I sort of went, wait a minute, can they get any internet? And so I had to research that, and yes, there was an article from last year about a family getting the first NBN put in Kubapedi.
Wow.
And they genuinely did run it down the ventilation shaft into the house.
Oh my God.
And prior to that, all the internet they had was on mobile phones, and they had to, basically like we did at that farmhouse, go and stand like up in the kitchen and stuff, which tend to be at the top so that water can go in there, and the bathrooms, so they had to stand up there, stand in the toilet or stand in the sink, or go out in outside to get reception on the phones, which was still quite flaky. And then that was the internet that they could get. And so then what a difference the broadband had made.
Can you imagine the difference that must have made?
So they,
somewhere else remote is quite remote.
They would become the source of any local news to outside places and stuff, because that was the thing.
If they had a local golf course, it would have to be blacks.
They do have a golf course.
Oh my God! And is it blacks?
It's used at night time with glow-in-the-dark balls, and they carry around a little piece of turf to tee off on, because it's all, of course, barren dirt.
Sand.
Sand. And so they go at night and play golf.
Oh my God! What about the mine issue, the shaft issue?
I don't know. I think they
must be well clear of the shaft.
They've just checked the area used as the golf course very thoroughly before they allowed it.
And it'd be very good hazard. You could end up with a triple bogey seven.
Go down the shaft, and you'd never.
Can't get the bloody ball out of here very easily.
You just call that another.
Usually,
no, you have to drop it. You have to do a drop. You lose 2 strokes.
No, you just claim that was the hole. I thought that was the hole.
It's a bit big.
What, isn't that the hole I was meant to get the ball in?
Yeah, that's right. Because apart from the mines, what would the employment be?
Tourism. People go to see the underground dwellings, and they've got like an entire hotel that's made in an old mine and things, that people go to see those.
That's a good idea.
You can sort of go and see the mines, and tourists do the thing where you go and look for your own bit of opal, like people do panning for gold. You see, I've still got my all over the place sort of map of how these things might go together.
Oh, I love it.
And then, but then there are several pages of like research notes about Kubapedi.
Oh, that was great.
Mistakes, how you can get to Kubapedi, and like education out there and stuff.
But I mean, I have made I forget who I was texting. Someone, and you know, that I was making a mistake like every line.
Yeah. It's
I'll be
funny, once
reducing.
you start making mistakes with
Oh,
autocorrect, it keeps doing it, because what happens is once you've done a thing wrong, it remembers that and it reinforces that particular word instead of the one you wanted. So the more
That's
you
right.
make a mistake, the more you make that same mistake, and it predicts
That's
that in
right.
the future in your predictive text.
Yeah.